the bump and run, the Bristol move.
That's aggressive, but that's good. Good hard racing. Oh, he puts him out of the groove there.
Oh, man.
Will he get the bumper? Yes, he does. Here comes Logano. Logano on the inside. A drag race. They're sideways. And it's going to be Logano getting the win.
The back end of the 18. Kick out.
Yeah, he got into it right there.
Moved him out of the way.
Just got the lead.
It's almost too early to be racing that hard for the lead, wasn't it?
Never too early to be racing for the lead.
At Bristol.
At Bristol.
Man, this is one of the biggest wins of my career.
It's the bump and run,
baby.
Yeah, welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Michael D. White, joined by my two best friends, Matt the Statman Reilly and Eric Daytona Ron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had yourselves a Christopher Buescher type of weekend. He was the big winner in Michigan, bringing home the title back to Ford once again. Huge win, back-to-back, not only in Richmond, but Michigan. And fun fact, Kevin Harvick did the same exact thing last year, just opposite. Harvick won Michigan and then went back-to-back at Richmond the next year. So big congratulations to RFK. We forgot our hats today. It's a Tuesday again, and we're off. But boys, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Podcast available every Monday night, except for the last 4 weeks. Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and more.
I think in 2 weeks too. I think I might have to request a Tuesday show again. Got some stuff going on.
Boys. This is when you're supposed to be out and doing things. You know what I mean? It's all right. This is our summer stretch slump that we're having here. You know, like Noah and Christopher Bell have been having here.
Well, Noah's in his own world to hurt. We'll talk about that during the NASCAR news.
Don't worry about Eric's comparison with us and Noah. Don't just ignore that part.
No, we don't want to get roped up in that. But yeah, make sure you like, share, subscribe. We're available on Twitter, Bump and Run Pod, and interact with us. We're getting bored over there. Although I haven't been tweeting much either. But fellas, how's your weekend? I saw Eric on Saturday during a softball tournament. Matt, how was your weekend? Do anything interesting? Anything cool with the family?
It was good. What did we do? This was a weekend where we kind of had nothing really going on, which is nice. Went to a graduation party on Sunday. And then we were just talking about it before we signed on here. I'm starting to get into hunting mode. In northeastern Pennsylvania, archery season is right around the corner in October. So I put the game cam up, threw some feed down, just got a giant bear on my cam I just showed you guys. So starting to kind of get into the fall mindset right now with football starting back up and hunting, getting ready for that. So we're getting ready for the NASCAR playoffs, right? We're 3 races away from the NASCAR playoffs. So we're heading face first into my absolute favorite time of year. I thrive from September through, December, January. So I'm super excited about what's to come the rest of this year.
Matt's wearing his hoodie. He's getting ready for hoodie weather already. And you want to know what?
It was hoodie weather out there, man.
It was chilly today, 70 degrees in Pennsylvania, dropping down to 50 at night. I'm not ready for it. The summer's flying too quick. How about you, Eric, though? What'd you do this weekend besides that softball tournament? How'd it go? I know there was some controversy in the first game, and that's why I saw you after that. I didn't see how the second game went, though.
Yeah, you know how all those go. They always pair us against all-star teams, and we always end up starting too slow and ended up having to come back at the end. Not able to happen. And I got on base. I made a couple nice catches. I did my part, but once the booze starts to hit you as the day goes on, and the sun is just beating on you, and you're standing out there. It gets pretty tough to catch and swing a baseball bat.
I was going to ask, did the slow start have anything at all to do with the fact that you guys started partying at 11 a.m.?
That had something to do with it. Yes, it definitely did. But I still got the wheels. I ran so fast to first base, the bottom of my cleat ripped right off. So, I still got it. Those cleats were probably from 2007, so had to retire those bad boys. And, hey, once a year, I have to bring out that inner athlete. I don't do much. So, for the charity stuff, I'll go golfing once a year. I'll play softball once a year. But it was a good time. It was a nice weekend. And it all goes to charity for the fallen warriors of our local high school that we all grew up with here. And it's a good cause.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was just fun seeing everybody too. I had a pretty low key weekend.
Local town. It's like, it kind of felt like the Sandlot. You know what I mean? Like it had that summer, that Saturday summer night, you know, with the fireworks and just an event going on, Little League food, you know, it's just like, it had that real summer feel to it.
It really did feel like the Sandlot. I didn't watch any of the baseball games. I went to hang out with you guys at our buddy Kevin's house, who's like right down the block, but like people are walking in, walking out. I had a cooler full of beer in the back of my car. So like I'm walking out to the streets to grab fresh beer. I'm like, man, I literally thought to myself, I go, man, this is what summertime's all about. Just hanging out by a pool, hanging out with your buddies and stuff. So, yeah, definitely a good weekend. And then Sunday, man, the rain kind of put a little bit of hinder early on, but we saw half of a race and then we saw another half of a race later on. And we'll get into it soon. But you guys want to jump right into the NASCAR news?
Sure.
All right, so I only have a couple pieces of a couple stories. The first one, NASCAR Hall of Fame voting was this week. Jimmy Johnson, Chad Knaus, and Donnie Allison are all being inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. I almost said Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm so used to hearing Rock and Roll Hall of Fame referenced all the time. And then Janet Guthrie will receive the Landmark Award for outstanding contributions to NASCAR. I'll touch on her in a second for a nice little NASCAR history. But boys, what do you guys think about Jimmy Johnson, Chad Knaus, and Donnie Allison being inducted? And surprisingly, Jimmy Johnson was not a unanimous decision. I think 3 people voted no on the ballot. What do you guys think about that?
I'll tell you what, when I saw that that Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus had finally gotten into the NASCAR Hall of Fame, I couldn't be more surprised. You know, it's one of those deals where, are they going to make it? Are they not going to make it? Have they done enough in their career? And no, obviously the whole world knew that they were getting in. And obviously Donnie Allison, for everything that he's done in the sport, well deserving. And Janet Guthrie, I know you're going to touch on her in a second, much deserving. But bullshit that Jimmy didn't get in unanimously. You know, I know that the whole debate in the NASCAR world has been going on for a week now, so we're a little behind the 8 ball, but I know we could talk about it here because we all have the same opinions, where it's not a popularity contest. You know, as a voter, you have, to my understanding anyway, as a voter, you have one responsibility, and that is to vote in the 2 candidates that make, or the 3 candidates, whatever it is, that make, that deserve it the most. Yeah. And there's nobody in the world on that ballot or off that ballot that deserve the NASCAR Hall of Fame more than Jimmy Johnson. So it's a shame. You know, I don't know if it's a mindset of, hey, you know, we know he's going to get in, so I'm going to vote for somebody else I maybe like on a personal level a little bit more, just to see if they can get in. You know, that's kind of a bullshit mentality, if you ask me. You know, vote for the person who deserves the most. And so I don't know. I don't know if, what the plan is going forward. Maybe publicize the votes going forward to hold these people accountable. But it seemed like a lot of the voters were really pissed off that Jimmy didn't get in unanimously. And of course, Jimmy Johnson, Mr. Cool, probably didn't give a shit.
No, probably not. But you want to what? I bet you a little bit where you're like, I know, like, Jimmy's a very humble driver, but like, he knows he's the greatest driver of all time, if not one of the greatest drivers of all time. 7-time champion.
And you know what? He knows the 3 people that probably didn't vote for him too. He probably knows what he did to the 3 voters. He definitely knows who the voters are. And he's like, oh, you sons of bitches. He definitely knows who those voters are. Someone sneaked it to him. Yeah. At least just to him. Somebody knows and found out, and they definitely, that's, you know, Matt couldn't have said it any better. I agree with everything that Matt said. To not do that, to vote, like, you're just being petty about something at that point in time. And man, it's just like, even Moody, like, even a lot of the people, like, were just like, show yourself, whoever you are, you should be like, and he was calling them out, and like, dude, there were people in the industry that were like,
fucking mad,
really upset about it. Like, they were mad. Like, you don't see, like, it was
really upset.
Like, real mad.
Abnormal to see them tweet that,
like,
type of tweet, you know, like, they were mad, like genuinely pissed.
Like Jeff Gluck, Jordan Bianchi, like, all these people, they were calling for
Pistol Pete was one of them.
Yeah, and like, I just want to know the reasoning, and I hope it's not, well, no one's perfect, no one should get in unanimous, and they're just going to be like the one guy to vote against them, just to vote against them. Because he's already making it in. He's making the first ballot.
Right.
But
even then, everyone is voting for him. So that vote, whatever you do, it's not going to matter anyway. Because it should have been unanimous. But there's even mean that one guy. It's like, there was what, 3? So
I think
maybe
3.
Maybe we have to be looking for that cut. Like I was the one to screw Jimmy Johnson right here.
Or like
ultimate troll job.
Or like, no one's perfect, no one deserves a 10 type deal. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like I don't know.
If anybody deserved it, it was
him.
That's what Matt said. Like, it's like, this isn't like, if anybody out there does deserve that 10, it's him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, essentially, we'll never get a unanimous decision.
No,
like that's what they're saying is we're never ever going to get a unanimous decision, which is weird. Like whatever, but
yeah, and of course, Chad Canales is crew chief for a lot of those wins and I believe all of those championships, right?
All 7 championships. Yep.
Yeah, because he was only with Jimmy for his last 2 seasons. He didn't run with Jimmy, so yeah, just as deserving as a crew chief. I mean, one of the greatest crew chiefs of all time. And Donnie Allison, one of the Allison brothers, one of the Alabama gang, one of the originals. We all know that 1979 Daytona 500 fight. So like that was a monumental part of the sport, deserves it in that part. And then if you don't know who Janet Guthrie is, she has a pretty interesting story. I know probably a lot of our listeners are younger like us, and they might not know the pioneers of the sport, but she was actually an aerospace engineer who left her career to race. She did some Indy racing. She did NASCAR. She was one of the first women to race in NASCAR, although not the first one. I forget who the first one was. It was like 1949. A woman raced in NASCAR. But her first race was the World 600 in 1976. She was the first woman to complete that. She also raced in the 1977 Daytona 500 and Indy 500 in the same year, becoming the first woman to race in both events. Her 33 race career ended in 1980 at our home track of Pocono. And she was part of the first, I thought this was the most interesting, she was part of the first class induction into the International Women's Sports Hall of Fame. So just goes to show you what an accomplishment someone in the NASCAR world and IndyCar world made just in general of women's sports. And her helmet and fire suit are on display at the Smithsonian Institute. She's a total badass for her time. Probably still a badass old lady. I can't wait to hear her speech. I'm sure she's got some cool stories to tell, because back in the day, I mean, it's hard enough being a woman in motorsports today. You look at some of the stuff that happens to Haley Deegan on the track and off the track. I couldn't imagine it being in the 70s. You have a bunch of good old boys from the South. They're not taking it easy on anybody,
It's definitely hard enough being a woman in the sport today, let alone back then. I mean, you just got to take one look at what happened with Joey Logano at Pocono, having a hard time getting his rig hooked up. Women have it tough in this sport.
Absolutely. Women definitely have it tough in the sport. Joey Logano definitely had his panties in a bunch.
that first female driver in NASCAR was Sarah Christian, and you nailed it, Whitey. 1949 was that race.
There you go. Thank you for looking that up, Matt. I appreciate it. And yeah, that's all I have for the Hall of Fame news. You guys have anything to add to that? Anything on those guys?
Well deserving for all of them.
All right. Speaking of IndyCar, we're heading to the Indy Road Course this week, but Goodyear will run a tire test on the Indy Oval. So I think that's a pretty good indicator that the Oval will return in 2024. What do you guys think about that?
I've heard. Yeah. I want to. So I've heard from multiple, just online, nothing directly to me, obviously, but I've heard from multiple sources online that, that's the direction we're pretty much going to get the Oval back next year. And I'm excited because, it was a snoozer when we were running on that Oval, but like with this new car, like, let's see what it can do. Why not? Right. So I'm very excited.
Yeah. I think it could put on almost the same style of racing we saw at Michigan, where when you do have those long green flag runs, they're at least exciting green flag runs. And I just think a lot of the drivers kind of wanted to go back there as well. I mean, the Indy road course thing, I think that kind of has run its course with all the mayhem that kind of happens.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, I think what the Chicago street course did versus this Indy road course, I don't know. I think they're going away from those hard, just drive in and cause mayhem type of made up rovals, as you want to call them. But yeah, I think it belongs in the sport. You know, I know it's an IndyCar thing, the Brickyard, they talk about it. It still means something in NASCAR, I think. And I think that's where the drivers, they want to get back there and win there and kiss those bricks.
I agree. Like something about, you know, seeing them kiss the bricks on the Indy road course just didn't have the same feeling as it does.
Doesn't have that effect.
Because like you said, it's a legendary venue, you know, all of the history. I know it's an IndyCar thing, but like, I feel like NASCAR definitely has its place there, and it belongs in our history, in our lore too. And you wanna know what? I would love to see this. I don't know how it would work logistically, but I would love to see the Xfinity cars on the road course on Saturday and then the Cup cars on the oval on Sunday in a weekend. I think that would be really interesting just to break up just that doubleheader weekend, just to see something different. What do you guys think about that? You think that would be interesting to see?
Pushing the logistics off to the side. Yeah, I would love to. But then again, maybe it's not that bad. I mean, I have no idea. I have no idea what goes into setting up the roval, but yeah, why not? Because Xfinity car has its own identity. They're getting away. They're doing their own thing with the CW in a couple years. So yeah, let them do their own thing. And yeah, I want to see the big guys on the actual oval though.
Yeah. My main thing is just this new next gen car. I think it deserves a shot. You know, we talk about getting rid of racetracks and adding new ones and building new ones. You know, and we're talking about all of that before we actually even see this car on any of these racetracks or how this car responds to them. And now we're kind of getting a better idea, second year in, of how this new next-gen car responds to certain styles of racing. And if they can't fix the car, we'll bring this car to the tracks that it will work at. And I think the Indy Oval is definitely worth bringing back.
Yeah, Ken Bennedy, if you're listening, let's make it happen, man. I know you're in charge of the schedule now. Actually, I heard an interview with Elton Sawyer today on the Morning Drive on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio Channel 90, and he roundabout kind of alluded to it, where he's like, yeah, you know, we're looking into the options. You know, Ben loves to switch up the schedule now. So I'm hoping not only do we get a schedule really soon within like the next month or two, but that the Indy Oval is on it. The next piece I have is the Dale Jr. Foundation is doing their glove auction again. 60 drivers will auction off their gloves from the Bristol race weekend for the Dale Jr. Foundation's charity, which is a really cool event. I think the website's live now. If you go to, I don't know if it's junior, like dirtymo.com or one of those will definitely have it. But you could go and bid on your favorite NASCAR driver's gloves. Maybe if you have enough cash, pony it up and you get a little signed gloves in the mail. And then, man, I hate talking about this type of stuff, but Noah Gragson, he's been suspended first by Legacy Motor Club for liking a meme about the George Floyd murder, and then NASCAR ended up following suit. As of now, the latest update from Bob Pockrass, there was a news report this morning that he had officially been released from his contract with Legacy, and then that Jim Utter, I believe, broke it next, where he was like, I talked to Legacy, no official word in. And then Bob Pockrass with the latest update, in quotes, with no return date set, the team has been reaching out to drivers about filling Gragson's seat for the upcoming races. The team has no additional update beyond the next 2 weeks and is in discussions with Gragson about his future with the team. Now, this is also coming off of last week's news segment, where we were talking about, rumor has it that John Hunter Nemechek might be taking that seat for 2024. Noah Gragson, of course, under a 1-year contract. And then in that same interview with Elton Sawyer on Sirius XM, he said Noah's path to get back in released is the typical, you have to go through your sensitivity training, all that stuff, and whatnot. What do you guys think about the Noah Gragson news?
I feel like I have to say something.
Yeah.
This isn't going to make any sense to the audio listeners, but while you were reading that very, very serious piece of information, I was holding back laughter, and I know the optics behind it with what you were talking about aren't great.
Yeah.
But while you were reading that and having a very serious moment in our show, and just bear with us because we're not good with the serious stuff, is that Eric was like swatting a fly or something. I don't know if a bird got into his room.
Like a gigantic bug just flew like behind me, and I got startled, dude. Like there's these big cicada things that are outside, dude. Like it sounded like one just like, when they're hitting against the wall and doesn't know where to go and just keep smashing into it. Yeah. Oh my God. I heard it. I'm like, what is going on? And the map saw me turn, and it was just
it doesn't help when we lock eyes too, and like we know that we're both trying to, like, we're not supposed to be laughing during this type of conversation. So like I apologize. It's a serious conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry for the optics there, but
I was wondering.
Yeah, it's bullshit, obviously.
For the audio listener, I'm reading off my iPad here, and I look back into the camera, and Matt's eyes are like wide open. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So, all right, I'm glad you explained that because I didn't.
That's what happens. So it's a Tuesday show. We go off the rails.
We're off the rails, baby, already.
Buckle in. So, just going back to the Gragson thing, there's nothing to say to defend the guy. It was a stupid decision, lapse of judgment, whatever you want to call it. There's no defending it. What happened to him getting suspended indefinitely is the right thing to do by NASCAR and by Legacy. And, let's hope it's he learns from this and he moves on, like, much like what happened with Kyle Larson. And, I'd hate to see a career get ruined over something like this. And I'm not saying that it is getting ruined, but I think it's definitely going to go ahead and delay his progress within his career for a little while.
Yeah.
Not to mention, there's no secret about like his on-track activity has sucked this year too. He's had a miserable year, but this definitely doesn't help his case. So yeah, he's got to go back and learn. He's got to do the sensitivity training and realize what he did wrong. And hopefully he comes back a better person from it.
Yeah, I think
the whole thing is just a mess as far as like the news goes too. Like I'm sure you guys noticed like the back and forth, like, is he done? And then like LMC comes out and says he's not completely done yet. And then like Jim Utter says something else. And then this guy, it's like, it's kind of, it's rough all around for everybody. I think everybody's trying to really make sense of it all and really try to figure out what's going on. And, it's one of those things where, as a company, Legacy Motor Club, like you have to do the right thing and get rid of them. And it's still a young kid that you also don't want to just abandon. You got to think about that too. I don't know if Jimmy's like, we'll do what we have to do, but you did say, Whitey, like they are still going to like have him go through all the sensitivity training and all of that stuff. And, cause it's especially after a whole year that he's had, one thing that we talk about a lot is mental health. I would hope that, he kind of keeps or has someone there to mentor him through this whole process. And, because, with the season he's had, he's already, bummed out. And then, he goes and does this stupid mishap as well. And, he's probably in a really, really rough time. So as much as it sucks and you want to, you could come at him for his decision making, he's also human as well. And I hope that he does find the right treatment and does not, get completely sidetracked in his career through this. And it is possible to come back, as we saw with Kyle Larson. So it's just a weird situation that is going on right now.
It doesn't help. Not that there's ever a good time to do this because what he did was wrong straight out, again, not defending it, but last week we had talked about in the news segment about the rumors swirling about John Hunter Nemechek taking over that car when they flip over to Toyota next year. So there's already smoke there about him losing his ride anyway. And then this happens, which again, doesn't help the matter. So just a mess. And it stinks because he's talented. And we've said here on the show before, the guy's got a great rock star type personality, which is what NASCAR needs. again, hope he just gets this, cleared up and he moves on as a better person going forward, because he has from the outside looking in, has a really good personality that NASCAR could use.
Yeah, I was gonna to your point, bring that up too. Like, the timing is just not great. I mean, obviously the timing's not great for this type of thing anyways. And you have to look at it from Legacy's position too. Not only like you have sponsors to deal, like this is a business. You're a representative of that business, their sport. And there's like kids and stuff that look up to you. So like there's a lot of different layers to it all. But like you said, we already saw smoke. I mean, in my mind, it's like any little thing at this point, just give them a reason to get rid of you so they could go back and
pretty much John Hunter's ride now. It's set in
stone
now.
Only a matter of time before it becomes official.
It might be announced next week, to be, you know what I mean? Like, just to get everything rolling.
And I wonder, kind of makes me wonder too, if that's why there's kind of this back and forth where like, oh no, he's still employed, whether it's like a legality deal with his contract and stuff. Yeah.
Right. They're not ready to do it yet because there's all this other stuff that's in the works, and like, whoa, let's hold up. This isn't finished. Yeah. That is a good point too. There's probably other inner workings already with the deal with John Hunter. That does make sense.
100%.
And like we said, like there's still a path for him to get to NASCAR anyways. The NASCAR suspension is pretty much like he has to go through his training. We saw Haley Deegan have to do it last year after she used a slur against mentally disabled people or whatchamacallit. We saw again Kyle Larson, great example. There's been a handful of these things. So like this, I'm not saying is going to be the end of Noah Gragson, but also the timing hasn't been worse, because like last year he was a hot prospect. His performance on the track this year, not that great. So now it's not like, oh, well, he's worth taking the risk. He might not be worth taking the risk at this point. He might
he's not Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson got lucky. Kyle Larson was lucky that, he had the talent that he had. And, I don't see Noah Gragson going out there in his off time now and winning 57 dirt races out of 100 that you enter. You know what I mean? I don't know. He's not going to be going out running. You know what I mean? He doesn't have that type of talent, and
I don't think he has that type of talent. I don't think he has that type of money either. Like Larson
that's another thing.
Yeah, Larson was running his own team. He was making a lot of money in the Cup Series for a lot of years before what happened to him happened. So Noah Gragson, who knows what his rookie contract is like? He might be paying Legacy to run that car, still. You never know. So just it's an unfortunate situation for everybody involved. And, you wish these guys would, just be a better representation of the sport too. It's easy to fall into these old stereotypes and stuff, which obviously NASCAR has been trying to get away with for a long time.
That's the other thing too, is like from the outside of this too. And I know, we're not the victims in this, right? But the headlines is another white NASCAR driver does another racist thing. And it's like, come on already.
Yeah, so just a bad look all around. We hope he learns from this whole entire situation and like you said, becomes a better person, more thoughtful person, because he is in the public eye. But that's all I have for the NASCAR news. We got a race weekend to talk about. It feels like forever though, man. I don't know. This one might be a rough one because I watched this race in pieces. It felt like a Quentin Tarantino movie. But let's jump into the race weekend, which I don't, man. I don't have a sounder for this, but we had Xfinity and Cup on track. John Hunter Nemechek won the Xfinity race. I didn't see it. Did you guys see it? Because I heard there was some controversy between him and some teammates, but I'm not exactly sure what happened.
I didn't see it.
No? Okay. Well, John Hunter Nemechek won. I know Pistol Pete gave him his wreckers for something that happened with the teammate. I didn't get a chance to see it again Saturday. I was out all day long. And then we saw a great Cup race over 2 days. Chris Buescher led 3 times for 52 laps, which was very similar to how many laps he won. He led 3 times last week for like 58 or something like that. And even the race time was very close. 3 hours, 2 minutes and 59 seconds. We saw 9 cautions for 43 laps, 26 lead changes among 16 different drivers. Your top 5, Chris Buescher, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, and Kyle Larson. So RFK getting 2 top 5s. 2 weeks in a row because, right, Brad Keselowski finished in the top 5 last week too, didn't he? If he did,
pretty sure he did.
Yeah, I think he did. So RFK, can we call it? Is RFK back? Is Roush?
I think they're back.
Is Roush back?
I mean, it's Denny Hamlin on his podcast kind of I think he got asked the question like, oh, was this surprising to you to see, Chris Buescher go back to back on wins? And he's like, well, no, he's like, we all know, that he's a capable driver and that he's very talented, but coming from RFK and that organization standpoint and where they're at, like, that is surprising.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where that team was to where it is now. I know we saw the writing on the wall 2 years ago. And we've been kind of pumping their tires and keeping, an eye on RFK. And, I think it's safe to say they might be the best Ford team right now too.
I think they might be the best Ford team right now. Like, besides Kevin Harvick,
right now,
yeah. I mean, Logano scum finishes at the end, but he hasn't been talked about much. Hasn't been super fast lately.
Blaney hasn't been talked about.
Thing. Austin Cindric, you know what I mean? Like, you put them up against Brad and Chris Buescher. Like, Brad and Chris Buescher over the last stretch of races have done significantly better in my eyes than the other 4 teams have.
Stuart, it's sad. It's crazy to me. It's still crazy to me that you guys didn't even mention Stuart Haas there.
Well, no.
You know what I mean? Like they used to be a top 4 team. Like they were the A tier team, and now they're like I don't want to call them a C tier, but a B tier.
And it's even more surprising because right now Kevin Harvick is the highest Ford in points. He's sitting in 5th with 663 points. Brad Keselowski's in 8th with 651. And then Chris Buescher's in 11th with 639. The only Penske person in between those guys is Blaney sitting in 10th. And Blaney has a win. Logano has 1 win on the season, I believe.
Yeah.
And
1 win.
And, Harvick hasn't won yet, but he's, Harvick's just consistent always,
top 10 all the time.
He's Mr. Consistent.
He really is. But like, man, I'm just blown away by RFK. And like you said, Eric, we kind of predicted this. We've been pumping their tires for 2 years now. I'm not surprised they won 2 races in a row. Am I surprised they won it this quickly since Brad? I mean, 2.5 seasons is a quick turnaround from Ryan Newman riding in 15th every week. No knock on Ryan Newman, but like the equipment wasn't there. And man, what a change. Yeah, I don't know.
Listen, I'll kind of pick it up from there. It's they're back because we win 2 races in a row. Winning 2 races in a row in the Cup Series is not easy to do, and it's no accident that happens, right? So, like, one time, if you get like a fan, somebody who doesn't like maybe Chris Buescher, they say, that was a fluke, right? But 2 in a row, like, that's not a fluke. Like, that is speed, that is talent, and we saw him go face to face, neck and neck with the fastest car, that 19 on Monday, easily. We saw how easy Martin Truex was at passing cars, and Buescher outran him the last 50 laps.
That's Martin Truex Jr. on a Monday too. Martin's different,
Oh yeah, taking MTJ out on a Monday, that's impressive on its own, but he's winning on different types of tracks. Mm-hmm. Michigan is completely different than where he won at Richmond and where he won at Bristol. So like, he's capable anywhere he goes, and you look at these next races coming up, he loves road course racing. He is one of the best road course racers too. So holy shit, look out for Chris Buescher and RFK.
And
let's go, man. Let's go.
It's funny too. A couple of years ago, Chris Buescher said like he's not good at road course racing, and then you look at him in the next gen, it's a completely different story. I'm loving this story. I'm curious to see how far the RFK cars go in the playoffs, because Brad's going to point himself in if he doesn't win before that. He could win at Daytona. He could win it. Well, I wouldn't say he could win at any of these road courses because he's really struggled at the road courses over the last few years. But man, I'm just excited for the prospect of RFK. Do you guys want to jump into the race grades though, and then we'll break some more things down as we go?
It's our NASCAR weekend race grade.
All right. I think we started with Matt last week, so let's start with Eric for the race grades this week.
All right. I watched that race, like you guys said, started Sunday, finished it. I was able to watch it at work on Monday. So I did catch the whole race, and let me tell you what, A++. I couldn't put enough pluses at the end of this race.
Yeah.
It had everything you wanted. It had racing, it had strategy, it had pit road woes where, you also had on the racetrack, you just had straight up spins on your own because these guys behind the wheel I think it was Denny Hamlin was on edge. Like when you are a top contender in this sport, there is a razor thin line that you put your car on.
Yeah.
And some drivers are willing to go there and some other drivers aren't. And this was one of those racetracks where there was that fine line where in order to be fast, you had to get real close to that line. And man, did that put on for some good racing. The run some of these cars were having and the different strategies with the tires even blowing, it had everything that I want. And even, I know I said this in the beginning too, the numbers, the 26 lead changes among 16 drivers. Every time that's happened, I looked back in my notes. Anytime there was multiple in the 20s and in the teens of drivers, it's been an A+ race.
Yeah.
When you get lead changes up front and you get multiple drivers doing it, because that means you have good racing and you have a strategy. So that's like a mixture to get to those numbers, it feels like. And that is really what puts on great racing. And, I know we talked about it last week a little bit, how the playoff bubble didn't come into play. I was watching that this week. That came into play. They were talking about that a lot more. You had Chase Elliott. You have Alex Bowman. You had Daniel Suarez running well. You had these people on the cutoff that even Austin Cindric up there running up front all day. So you saw the aggressiveness from some of these bubble drivers driving up front. And that you felt that that lack of time left. You just like, oh man, there's not much time. We have to go now. And I think some of these teams made some swings to really try to get their cars up front and stay up front with strategy. And it was absolutely phenomenal. Sucked that it had to get split. And the crowds, this decent crowd for Monday came back. I will say that. But, you always want to see that full grandstands packed and the race happened on Sunday. But for a Monday race, they've been snooze fest because Martin Truex Jr. has absolutely dominated them and he almost did it again. But, yeah, fellas, you give me that every week and I would be completely satisfied.
Yeah, it was a great race. How about you, Matt? What did you think of it?
I'm right in line with Eric there. A+, man. I loved everything I saw both Sunday and Monday, and like everything that Eric touched on, I had it all in my notes already, so I don't want to try to repeat anything. I'll say this though, it always sucks when a race gets pushed to Monday, right? Like it blows. All three of us have had to deal with that numerous times with races that we've attended. Yeah. You got to figure out your travel plans. You got to figure out. First, am I staying? Am I going? Can I actually figure out how to stay here? If I can, do I have to get a hotel? There's all the logistics that go behind the people at the racetrack having to go through it. It sucks, but before I go any further, it sucks for us, at home too, because hey, we've got work on Monday. How are we going to make this work? Don't want to really take a day off for a race. Should I not? There's all these things that are up in the air and it's hard. It makes it really hard for everyone involved. But I'll say this, it seems like the races on Monday are always so goddamn intense for whatever reason. Like Eric said, we had the passing, we had the strategies, we had 4 guys that I think probably could have had cars capable of winning the race. Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, William Byron, and then even Alex Bowman, before he got taken out, had a car that I think was capable of winning the race. All got taken out throughout the race. So you had four contenders get taken out as well, which makes for more intensity and more storylines. You have the sport's most popular driver who had a chance to point his way in. Now probably going to have to win one of the last 3 races to get in. That's a humongous storyline that, again, I'll get into that in a little bit more into detail. But I loved it. And I guys, I try not to be prisoner of the moment. I told you guys the other day, but now we've had over 24 hours to kind of take it all in and think about it, had a night of sleep to sleep on it and everything. I believe that this was, for me, this was the race of the year so far. And that battle for the win with Buescher versus Marty, the last 50 laps or whatever that was probably one of the best battles I've seen in the last 5 or 10 years for a race win. It was so exciting. I couldn't look away. And yeah, so A+ for me. I loved everything I saw.
Not only
Matt, to your point, about the ending last week, if you listen to the show, I said that it's not that I hate the green, white checkers we get at these races. Like, we talked about these strategy races and going green, how we wanted that to go green because we want to see the strategies work out.
Yeah.
We want to see them fight and track down and be the shark in the water going after that win.
That's why we want to see it.
And that is why we want to see it that way. And we finally got that, Matt. So, yes, that is exactly another reason why you could put the A+ to this race, because it went clean, it went green, and we saw it all play out. And that battle is why we want to watch those types of races play out and go green.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. I give it an A. I didn't give it a plus. It probably would have got a plus if my guy finished a little bit better, especially since he jumped the winner of the race on pit road. And then just disaster after. But I agree. It's just unfortunate that it did get split up into 2 days. Honestly, I don't remember much about Sunday besides all of the tire failures and stuff like that, the self spins and whatnot, which made for a super interesting race too, because then it threw a whole bunch of cautions into the whole entire mix. But man, that battle between MTJ and Chris Buescher just made it an A. That was... I wouldn't say it's a race that we'll talk about for a long, long time, but like Matt said, it might be one of the best races of the year, if not the best race of the year. And that battle lasted pretty much the whole entire half of the third stage. We got our money's worth on Monday.
There was a battle between both Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch at Chicagoland in 2018 or 2019.
Yeah.
I believe it was the famous slide job call.
Yep. Slide job.
That battle is always one that I think about as far as a battle for the lead that I always come back to, because they were banging, they were beating. It was so exciting. But that was only a couple laps, right?
Yeah.
This one, as exciting, but it was longer. It was cleaner, but it was just as exciting. So that just goes to show you, if it's a battle for the lead, no matter what way it gets attacked, whether it's clean, whether it's dirty, whether it's a short, or whether it's long. If we have battles for the lead, it's going to make the race more interesting. And then the closer we get to the end, it's more and more interesting. And I love it.
I think what made that race great was we saw those types of battles throughout the day. I'm going to touch on one as my checkers. I don't want to jump the gun though, but just that was a great race. It really was.
And I'll tell you what, you look at that, and that is what I will point back to when anyone tries to come at me and say about the Logano and Kenseth thing.
Yeah.
Because Logano could not pass Matt on his own. He couldn't get around him. I don't care. You cannot get around him, and he shoved him out of the way. Truex could have done the same thing.
We'll get into it. We'll have an opportunity to talk about this in a second.
Yeah. I think that's the cue to jump into this week's
3 wide for the lead. 1 lap to go.
It's this week's Checkers and Wreckers.
All right, since we started with Daytona Ron for the race grades, let's start with Matt for the Checkers and Wreckers.
So Eric, you were just saying how the clean end of the race was great, and again I agree with that. So my checkers, first of all, is it's going to go to MTJ, and not because he had a fast car, and not because he's our points leader, and not because he's back next year. Guys, MTJ is back next year. That's exciting as well. But he's getting my checkers because of how he raced Chris Buescher at the end of that race.
Yeah.
He could have rode him up into the fence like one of his teammates is known to do.
Yep.
But he raced him super clean. He had a couple times to pretty much run him up into the fence that we've seen in the past. Not only his teammate, but others in the past have done it. And at the end of the race, no one's really going to blame him because, the old saying, hey, you're going for a win. But he raced him clean. He couldn't pass him. Chris Buescher was the faster car. That 17 had it. Marty even went so far as even checking up real bad that one time, which is probably what ended up causing him to win. But he did it. He couldn't do it. He couldn't pass him clean, so he couldn't pass him. And that's, I believe, how it should be when you're coming down to the race win. And that was the class. Eric, you sent us a snap after the race, and you said it perfectly, man. He was the class of the field. Like, that's any of these young guys should go back and watch that. That's how you handle the end of a race. If you can't pass them clean, then you're not going to pass them. Don't ruin that guy's day and that team's day who worked all week and month on that car so hard. Don't go ruin their day because that's the only way you can pass them. Like, if you can't beat them straight up, then that's it. That's the answer. You can't beat them.
Don't be a Denny.
He did go for that move. That Kyle Larson would always do, where you dive bomb to the inside. Yep. You know your car's not going to make it because you just overdrove the turn.
Yep.
And you wash up, and 8 is better than 4. And the minute that MTJ felt that he was not going to make the turn and he was going to wash up the 17, he let off because he knew he wasn't going to make it. He knew, if I don't let off here, I'm wrecking myself and I'm wrecking the 17. Or he could have stayed in the throttle, used the 17 to straighten himself out, but force him into the wall, and MTJ could have got the win, but he didn't. And that is something that should be replayed every week from this point going forward, and it should be in every driver's meeting. That should be in every hauler for every race car driver, dirt, late model, I don't care what it is. That is how you race somebody at the end, even going for a win.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hear the bullshit from people like, okay, that's fine, you can race clean, but you're never gonna win a title. Like, dude, MTJ's been racing clean his whole career and he has a title. So, like, I don't want to hear that part of it.
He could have had 2 if he raced a little dirtier, though, against Logano.
This guy.
Just saying. Just saying. No, I completely...
Coming from a Reddick fan, that makes a lot of sense.
Listen, Reddick is super clean, too. He just, he makes boneheaded mistakes.
Wrecks himself.
He wrecks himself,
He doesn't wreck a lot of people, but damn sure he knows how to spin himself out and destroy a race car.
Yeah, he does.
Chase.
Man, anyways, just class act from Marty. How about your wreckers, though?
Well, I just said it. So does Chase. Chase knows how to wreck them all by himself, too. I mean, I know his tire went down. Nothing you could do about that. But it's just a shame. So my wreckers is, I'm the homer. I try to stay away from the 9 team wrecking them and giving them the checkers. But I just felt like this week I have to, they're in such a good position to really just point their way in. They're coming up on a couple of road courses here. They really had a good opportunity, and it just hasn't been their year, man. It sucks, but it is what it is. All of it was self-inflicted too, right? Like Chase broke his leg skiing. That's self-inflicted, or snowboarding, whatever it was. He wrecks Denny and then on purpose. That's self-inflicted. So just it's been a long season, but again, I'm not going to do the woe is me thing. I got to see my driver win a championship. That's a lot more than a lot of people can say. I lived my whole life as a Dale Jr. fan, not seeing him win a championship. So I've been lucky being a Chase fan, but it just sucks seeing this team go through that. And now they're going to have to win. And again, we have 2 road courses coming up back to back. Watkins Glen, probably his best track, which is all great and well, but I would say probably a good third of the field has now become really good at road course racing. Like, you used to be able to point at Chase, Reddick, maybe Martin Truex, and a guy here or there. You might have had 4 or 5 guys that are really good at road course racing where you could point at them and say one of those 5 is probably going to win. Dude, we probably have, a dozen guys now that can go out there and win this in either one of these road courses coming up. So nothing's guaranteed, especially the way he's driving and the luck he's had. And like I said, the self-inflicted wound. So I'm officially hitting the panic button.
Yeah, big time.
I'm officially hitting the panic button. I couldn't imagine if you told me back in February that Chase is going to miss the playoffs, I would have called you crazy. And here we are. It's a realistic possibility. And here we go. I don't know. Thank God I love the sport enough where I can kind of look past it. If that's the point that we get to where Chase doesn't make it, I can still, I can still enjoy the race, but the racing and all the other storylines, but it sucks. So.
Man, HMS as a whole over there, just not, we're used to Slick Willie 2 clocks not having a good summer, which that's kind of happening again with him. Fast cars, but, getting into the wall, slipping up, riding that razor thin line. You saw Alex Bowman, he's on that cutoff from 20th, on down, needing good points days, up running in the front, having a good day. And then it goes to shit as well. So, HMS as a whole, they kind of have to get it together before the playoffs here.
And to your point, oh shit, I forgot to at the top of the show want to give a shout out to Charlie Warner. He was at the Michigan race, longtime friend of the show, and he's also a Chase fan. That's what made me think about it. But like, if you're a Chase fan,
till Monday. Let's go.
Yeah.
Stay till Monday.
Let us know if you stayed.
Yeah. Charlie,
yeah. Let us know, Charlie, if you did stay.
Yeah, Charlie, let us know if you stayed. Hope you enjoyed the race, even though Chase is, man, just a rough season. But like you said, if I'm a Chase fan, I'm hitting the panic button, not only because we have 3 races coming up, but like he used to be a lock on road courses. Yep. He hasn't won a race in the next gen on a road course yet. And like you said, we've seen so many guys coming up. I'm picking later on first in our betting segment. I have no idea who I want to go with because there's so many guys that could win at this Indy road course. There's so many guys that could win at Watkins Glen in 2 weeks. I hope for the Chase fans, Chase Elliott gets one of these wins because I think it's bad for the sport if your most popular driver doesn't make the playoffs either, but man, just a panic mode. I don't know how
panic button's been hit.
Yeah, I don't know how Larson ended up getting himself a top 5 at Michigan either because he was struggling a lot of the day too. Green
flag cycle at the end. He came out. He waited out long. He was same thing with EJ. They waited till the lap times in the perfect time to not catch lap traffic to come and pit.
Yeah.
They ended up. His car was a little bit faster, obviously, than the 43 was, but the 43 actually had a fast car.
Yeah, he did.
But him and I think it was EJ at the end. I'm like, oh, they're on the same strategy. They pitted like one right after another. He came out 6th, and EJ came out like 14th and had a race up to 10th.
Yeah.
And Larson raced up to what, you know what I mean? So like the pit crews too kind of had probably a little something to do, but yeah, it was those late green flag stops that leapfrog Larson up there.
Yeah, because if it wasn't for that, man, like Hendrick as a whole at Michigan just struggling. Hendrick as a whole struggling the last couple of weeks. I don't know. Hopefully they get it together by the playoffs. Usually they do though. We saw the same thing with Slick Willie 2 clocks last summer, and then we get to Darlington and it was lights out from there. Like he was doing great for the rest of the playoffs until he got knocked out. I think in the 8th round or something like that. But how about you? Or you're done, Matt? Right? You're done.
That's it. Yep.
Okay. How about you, Eric? What's your checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
My checkers goes to Ty Gibbs, sitting on the cutoff line on the bubble, and he's been running there all season. And this is his rookie year, and his teammates, Toyota, great drivers, getting wins and multiple wins, and he's just there chugging along and not making a lot of noise, but just completing races, keeping the car clean, and coming away with solid finishes at the end of these races. And in the last 4 or 5 weeks, he has done, tremendous while the other people around him have faltered. So he's taking advantage of that by just racing clean. He's not trying to win, not trying to do too much to gain those points, but, came home P11 at Michigan, which is a tough racetrack. We saw the most talented drivers in the world spinning and overdriving their cars and not being able to control it. And, he's right there in the playoffs now. He's +3 in the playoffs. Now, over the next coming 3 weeks, the people that are on the bubble with him last season in those races, he scored the least amount of points than those other drivers he's going against. So I'm curious to see, will he be able to keep that calm and cool demeanor, let the other drivers falter, and he just keeps skating on through because that 34 and that 99, the 34 had a bad day. He really, really did not need that day that he had.
Yeah.
But the 99 took advantage. Now the 99 was doing bad the last couple weeks. He needed this really bad. Came really in sixth. He really jumped. That was his best points day since I think like Fontana in like week 2 or 3 of the season. So, Suarez, when the time comes and he needs to be there, he's stepping it up. And he's another one on these road courses that has a legit shot to win the race. So you have McDowell could possibly win. You have Suarez that could possibly win. And even if they falter, you have Ty Gibbs, who he's running in the top 10, top 15. He could just, over these next 3 weeks, point his way to safety almost.
Yeah.
If these other guys falter, wrecking in the front to go for a win. To me, it's just night and day. Ty Gibbs from last year and who he was and how he was as a racer to who he is now. Man, it is light years of difference, and we are actually seeing, a really good race car driver develop in front of us. So I had to give a shout out in his rookie year, battling on the cutoff line and keeping his composure. Ty Gibbs, absolutely
insane. Just for his age and inexperience, when he started in the Xfinity series, obviously lights out fast in that all-star car. Won a whole shit ton of races and then backs it up with a championship the next year. I'm like, yeah, but are you rushing him to Cup too soon? No, you're not, because rookies don't point themselves into the playoffs. Again, he's on the cutoff line. He's +3 right now, but he's got a strong possibility. And you look at the company he's keeping, like, man, and he's doing it quietly. He's doing it quietly and consistently. He's not making enemies on the track. He's not overdriving his car. He's doing everything a rookie needs to do. And at 21 years old, I'm not exactly sure how old he is right now, but man, are we looking at a generational talent in front of our eyes? Like,
it's impressive. And that's what I mean about like his age, just the quick turnaround that he was able to recognize that he was doing wrong, recognize that in order to be who he needs and wants to be in this sport, you have to clean up some things, and he cleaned it up quick, which it's very impressive. And we've talked our fair share of shit.
Oh yeah, but absolutely.
We also are able to see and accept the change when it's noticeable. And this is one where I had to pull pull his name out of the hat and be like, you know what, you've impressed me. You're kind of you tip the scales the other way for me at this point.
I know a lot of people were like, oh, Silver Spoon. Like, of course, they give it to Austin Dillon. They were giving it to him when he was in the Xfinity series. Silver Spoon, grandpa's money, all this stuff. But like, the kid's got the talent to back it up, and you can't buy that. You can't buy that kind of talent. Like, I don't know, just really great stuff out of Ty Gibbs. I agree. How about your records? What's your records for the weekend?
My records goes to Christopher Bell. Light speed car he had. I mean, he the last couple weeks, just absolute rocket ships, just like his Toyota teammate, the 45. Christopher Bell seems to come to the racetrack with either the fastest or the second fastest behind the 45 as far as speed across the charts go. Their car's dialed in, the balance, the long run speed, the short run speed, it's all been there. But Christopher Bell just seems to get caught up in some stuff, and it's not a good time for that. I mean, this is when Christopher Bell, you just kind of see him turn it on come the playoffs, when that cutoff, like, is this setting up for another, haymaker that he needs to pull out of his ass to continue on and make it in the playoffs? Or, if in my eyes, I know you have fast cars, but it's those little things. And Whitey, I know you could touch on this, where those are the ones that just annoy and irk you.
Yeah.
It's I would rather be slower and be 10th place car, but still could find speed, but they have the speed. It's those little things that are ruining these Toyota camps, as far as, even you could say they've all had their issues. Gone pit road, getting on pit road, off of pit road. It just seems they're being plagued with these little things that absolutely ruin their races and takes away the fact that they are building absolute rocket ships over there at Toyota, and they're not getting the finishes out of it. And that's allowing the Logano's and those people that you don't see during the race because they're not fast. Once the fast cars wreck out, I even texted, I'm like, Eric Jones has a legit shot to win this race just because the 4 fastest fucking cars just wrecked out. I go, well, there goes some of the competition. Yeah. That is what the Ford camp and some of these other drivers have been doing all year. Just let those guys up front wreck and just be too fast for their own good. And, I just think Toyota needs to maybe have a little meeting and be like, that razor thin line, we're going way over that. We need to bring that back down here and start finishing races.
Yeah, we're getting cut by the razor really, really badly. And like you said, man, rocket ships for Toyota. Week in, week out, rocket ships. I do have to give Christopher Bell and his crew due, though. They did finish in 13th.
It was, I know I'm wrecking them for what they did, but
it's just the body of it all.
For them to come back, like to just, that car it looked like it should have been totaled, and he came back. So that's what I'm talking about. If you don't do that, you win that race. The 20 wins that race.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, come on, with that speed to drive up to 13th with a mangled car, you are winning that race because he had that speed. Oh, it's just disappointing, especially in my part, fantasy-wise. I want to play the 45 coming up. I want to play the 20. But when they're all wrecking and smashing into the wall, I can't trust them.
Yeah. No, I played Christopher Bell this week. Thankfully, he got himself in a good position. But I feel like half my fantasy lineup fucking wrecked out this week, and it's miserable. It's miserable. My guy, pit road woes once again. And again, Reddick makes his fair share of mistakes too throughout the season. Like, he's not, but how many losses or just how many wins have they thrown away on pit road? That was one of them on Monday. Tyler Reddick easily could have won that race,
I love the sport of NASCAR because there is
so many variables.
Factor. There's so much that is involved, not just that guy behind the wheel. And, you don't really hear Reddick get that fiery underneath the radio. And man, did he let them boys have it.
I mean, if you watch those pit stops too, he motioned to the jack man.
Hey, come back up, and I didn't get it. But he left. The guy that motioned it, the jack man was coming back, and the tire changer left.
That was bizarre.
Yeah, tire changer was
I don't know what was happening.
And then when they're pitting under green after it's already loose, and did you see? They're just standing there. They can't get the tire back on. What the fuck is going on? Anyways, thankfully I missed that part at work. I was loading a Canada truck, and I came back. I'm like, man, what happened to Reddick? 3 laps down, did he wreck out? No, I went to Twitter. Thankfully, the battle between Buescher and MTG. Oh man, that's all right. Oh, you want to what? Honorary wreckers, the girls that sang the Canadian national anthem at the Michigan race, started out a little shaky, ended well, but man, it was rough in the beginning. I don't know if the TV broadcast played that. I was listening on the radio at that point.
I didn't catch it.
Anyways, my checkers and wreckers, my checkers goes to, and I feel bad checkering not the winner. Because this will be the second one for Martin Truex Jr. For passing not even the lead, but for the second stage win. I don't know how many cars he passed during green to catch up and win on a different tire strategy, different pit strategy, where tires really didn't matter in terms of speed. Just goes to show you how fast that fucking car was. And then to win it at the line against Chris Buescher for stage 2, that battle was amazing.
He battled with Daniel Suarez at the end of that stage because Suarez needed those points.
It was, it was Suarez.
Suarez threw a huge block on Truex, but Truex knew the block was coming, skated to the inside, used that draft of the block to actually edge him out. It was absolutely sick last stage 2.
I forgot about that. So, and the coolest thing in the world too was there was 5 or 6 laps left in that stage, and Marty was already on his trajectory forward. And I think it might have been Lamart or one of the guys up in the NBC booth said that he's not going to be able to make it all the way up to the front by the end of this stage. He's probably going to run out of time. But man, what a run this was!
It was Rick Allen.
Next thing you know, it's like, oh my god, he just won the stage. Like he actually made it all the way up. Like that was one of the most. Outside of like a race finish, that was one of the most impressive things I've seen this season by a single car. That was awesome.
Yeah, Rick Allen was talking.
The single most impressive thing that I've seen, hands down.
So again, I'm watching this whole thing at my desk. My supervisor is off, and I'm filling in for her. So I'm like, I'm holding up her workload too, and I'm sitting at my desk, and I'm just like biting my nails because Rick Allen has me interested because he was mentioning it like, oh man, look at all these spots Martin Truex Jr. is making up. He even said it's 6 to go. I think he had 3 seconds to make up. He goes, there's no way he's going to catch him, but man, what an impressive run. And even like Steve Letart's like, yeah, I don't know. It's at a certain point, it's like, do you really want to push this hard at the end of the stage? Like, you don't want to mess up your car or anything. And then he goes on to fucking win it. And I'm like sitting at my desk and go, holy shit. And like the 2 people that I share an office with, they look out, they're like, you all right, dude? I'm like, yeah, sorry, Monday NASCAR race, man.
well, dude, that's the thing. Like, he was on the same strategy as Eric Jones. So they both came out together. And then all of a sudden, it's just boom, boom. Yeah. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
And you're just watching them
pick people off. And at that same time, though, to your point, Whitey, other crew chiefs are radioing in and spotters, too, were being like, hey, enough. Quit racing in 13th because when this cycles through, we're going to leapfrog them. Don't race those guys too hard.
It was Denny Hamlin.
Denny got yelled at. Yeah.
And it's like, just slow, relax. And then here's Martin Truex Jr., who pitted, he was already going to get jumped and be up front. He says, fuck this, dude. I am going through. And he passed everybody in that same strategy, drove through the field and won stage 2. For him not to win that race just goes to show how far RFK has made it.
Yeah.
And how good of a driver Chris Buescher has become to hold off a Monday. Martin Truex Jr., where that car is going to the R&D and might get nabbed for something bad.
Yeah.
That's how fast it was. To hold that car off. All hats off to the winner too, Whitey.
I know they took Larson to the R&D center. Did they take Martin Truex Jr. to the R&D center too?
If they didn't,
let me see if I can find that. Let me see if I can find out. They had to have.
If they
someone tweeted that they posted all the stats from stage 2 from every race car. It was a full second, I think, like faster than anybody.
It's insane. And like, if they didn't take that car to the R&D center, Gibbs is paying off NASCAR at this point because like that car was insane. But again, to your point, don't want to take away from Chris Buescher what he did to fend off that Martin Truex Jr. car in that run, man. In the 3rd stage, just absolutely amazing. My wreckers, I didn't want to be a homer, so I wasn't. You guys know my real wreckers. But my other wreckers is those extra caution laps at the beginning of the start on Monday. There were some guys that had to pit due to fuel strategy. They were going to run out before the end of the stage. And some guys are going to have to pit by the end of the stage. And just because they ran so many laps under yellow, they saved too much gas. Kind of took away some of that strategy away from us, which I kind of wish we got to see because I don't know. I just think it would have been interesting.
There was rain though. That's the thing. They had to keep it under yellow. Like it's not like they just ran. I'm like, okay, because they're dilly dallying and just okay. We didn't go green yet. There was. I think it was turn 1. Yeah. I think there was some sprinkles or something coming over. So you're doing 200 miles an hour at Michigan. They and it's the start of the second day. Like it did ruin.
You don't want to.
What do you do?
You don't want a repeat of Daytona last year. I totally get the reasoning. I just wish that we could have seen that part of the strategy play out because at that point it was getting really strategic and I was.
But I don't think it really would have mattered because at 19 would have blew up everyone's strategy.
Everyone, yeah. Oh yeah. Well, the reason I was mad was because Reddick pitted for tires after giving up the lead and because they needed gas and they would have cycled out to the front. Anyways, Matt, what do you have for us?
The According to Jim Utter, the number 5 and 22 will return to the R&D Center for inspection. The 5, the 99, the 22, and the 23 will go to the R&D Center for engine dyno, and then the 7 and 16 will go to the wind tunnel. So no, the 19 did not get called to the R&D Center.
That is a shock.
Money talks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a shocker. But yeah, just well, you want to know what? Maybe it's just Toyota's body is that much better. You know, we've talked about Ford's woes at tracks that aren't Daytona and super speedways. And now Michigan too. Maybe Toyota's just
a lot of aero there.
Yeah, maybe Toyota is just so good at aero, like because all the Toyotas were fast. Like all of them were fast. They just all had their issues. Like at some point, I thought Bubba could won that race. Right. I thought Denny could have won that race. Martin Truex Jr. obviously could have won that race. I thought early on Christopher Bell could have won that race, and of course Tyler Reddick could have won the race. Like all the Toyotas were lights out fast at Michigan. So maybe it's just an aero deal.
Is it time we start giving James Small his flowers? Because the 19 is the fastest car out there week in and week out.
Yeah. Definitely a championship favorite. Of course, you know, the playoffs are long though. With 10 races. Yeah. You know, so
a lot can happen, man.
A lot can happen in 10 races. I thought
he's that one driver that could win anywhere at any racetrack, and like they've had speed everywhere. So like, you know, that and the veteran mentality too helps. I think like you see like going through like people that have been through playoffs, been in the sport for a long time tend to have a better, you know, run and deeper, you know, into the playoffs. So
here's the thing though. Here's the thing. One mistake on pit road. 2019, Martin Truex Jr. Homestead. I thought he had the car to beat. Guess what happens? They put the lefts on the right side and the rights on the left side. You know, something as stupid as that. You know, man. So you never
give me Homestead back as my championship race. God,
how good is Homestead Miami Speedway?
It would. Don't even get me. So I can't even believe that it's going back to Phoenix. I just
can't. Guys, is just what Homestead's the second to last race.
Yeah, call the champion there.
I was gonna say we could just stop watching. Like we'll just make that our championship race.
Well, we have listeners. We have the duty to break down Martinsville and Phoenix. But guys, that's all I really have for this week. I didn't do a lot of race notes just because I was in and out of the race. I missed a lot of stuff. I didn't have much to add. I think we covered pretty much all of the really fast guys and like the major moves of the race.
Well, we do have another incident with Corey LaJoie. Him and Blaney had a little word.
Oh, so I missed that at first. So what happened? He put LaJoie LaJoie put him right into the wall, kind of, right?
LaJoie ran out of talent once again, and you know, washed the 12 up, and the 12 came back down on him, and he even wiggled again afterward and got back up. Like it just looked like someone that didn't know what they were doing behind the wheel of a race car. And Blaney just being like, what is this fucking idiot doing every week? Like, what are you doing? You know?
That's literally what he said on the radio. Like, what is this fucking guy doing?
Yeah. So another Corey LaJoie incident. We talked about it during the Pocono post-race show too.
Austin Cindric ran hard and aggressive too. I got to give him credit. Like I said, those bubble guys, they were up front running aggressively. You know, you saw both Trackhouse cars in the top 10 with Ross finishing in seventh position. So is Trackhouse gaining a little momentum going into the playoffs? And is this something that will, you know, kick them in the ass a little bit, because they've been struggling?
Here's a stat for you. Chris Buescher has more wins in a next gen car than Ross Chastain does.
Yeah. How about that?
You know, that's the thing. Trackhouse has all the potential to win every week. They could go out there and win. I just don't know what's going on with them right now. I really don't. And I feel like the same thing kind of happened to Ross last year too.
They don't have speed though, you know, like it's different with like Reddick and Bubba and you know the Christopher Bell
the
stuff.
Toyotas like, are just so fast.
Trackhouse, like they're lacking whatever little that they had on the field as of last year and even to the start of the year. But that's what happens. This next gen car, we all said it, you get these guys, engineers, these lead car chiefs, you get their hands all over this car for more than a year, going on 2 years now. The best of the best, and those minds, they're gonna catch up, and they're gonna find out what you were doing. Then you'll leapfrog. So the Fords are hot now. Yeah. Guess what? The Chevy camp, they're gonna figure out what the Fords and Toyota are doing to gain speed on them. They'll figure it out as well. It's a cycle that happens in the sport. When one team seems to figure it out, it takes a little while for everyone to catch up. But I'm hoping Trackhouse. Well, like you said, with the 9, not in the playoffs is going to hurt the sport. So you hope Trackhouse could stick with that speed and success, and it stays there, because those two drivers and owner is really, really good for the sport of NASCAR.
No, for sure. Like, you want to see them in the playoffs. Obviously, Ross Chastain has a win on the season. We're hoping Daniel Suarez could get a win, and he's a very competent road course racer too in his own right. His first win was at Sonoma. Maybe he could do it at Indy this week and blow up those playoffs, because right now he's -5 outside looking in.
The cut line is going to be insane, dude. These next 3 weeks is really where, like, it's only within like 15 points, I think, like 5 different drivers are within that. So like, there's going to be over the next 3 weeks, there's like 5-6 cars that are going to be battling it pretty hard.
So Gibbs is 3 points in, McDowell's 3 points out, Suarez is 5 points out, Allmendinger is 24 points out, and then Bowman is 44 points out. So Allmendinger, Suarez, and McDowell, all fantastic road course racers, all could win in the next 2 races and knock Gibbs right out, really shake things up. If 2 of them win, knock Bubba out. And then you have Kevin Harvick and Keselowski on the cut line going into Daytona. If you get a new winner at Daytona like last year, you see a repeat of last year. And to your point too, Eric, like you said, like, we see a cycle where, Toyotas get hot, the Chevys, the Fords. Sometimes that goes month to month, so who knows what could happen in the next couple weeks, I think the Toyotas are going to stay real strong, but you never know what's going to happen with some of these Chevy teams too. Like, especially the road courses, all the beating and banging, you never know what kind of accidents could happen, who gets taken out, who locks their brakes up and smashes into a tire barrier. Next couple weeks, especially at Daytona, going to be fucking insane. I think we're in for a good stretch, boys.
Don't rule out Cindric and Elliott there as well as 2 guys.
Oh yeah,
they're close too. They're right there, like
any one of the next 3 races.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was just looking at the lower 4 guys that could take the 4 open spots in the playoffs right now. I mean, anything can happen over these next 3 races. I'm fired up. I'm fucking fired up, boys. We're in a good stretch.
Like this next, and I'm glad that they touched on it a lot, but going into these next 2 races, I'm not watching Eric Jones.
No.
I'm following the 99. I'm following the 34. I'm following the 9, the 16. I'm following the 54, 23. Those bubble drivers.
Yeah.
I hope NBC, I hope they kind of have a little bit of a mentality to kind of just, because these next 2 races, all those bubble drivers are so good on road courses too.
Yeah.
Which it makes it even more exciting. These next couple of weeks here, boys, we are in for some doozies of races. I feel like the aggression level. Matt, you're not the only one to hit the panic button. Those other drivers we just talked about, they're all hitting that panic button.
Oh,
so
yeah.
when you have that to me, that screams rain in the distance type of racing.
Dude, I was just going to say, we're getting rain in the distance for the next 3 races. Everyone's going to be on edge trying to get it. I'm so
And we may
excited.
actually have rain in the distance.
and we have rain tires at 2 of the next 3 tracks. Rain tires at Indy, rain tires at Watkins Glen.
Yeah.
We're rebranding for the 2024 season. Our podcast is going to be called Rain in the Distance.
Wow, that is a good NASCAR and meteorological podcast. Maybe we'll do the local on the 8s, do a little weather channel stuff. But boys, man, I'm getting fired up on a Tuesday. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep tonight, thinking about all this racing we have. But Here on the Bump and Run podcast, everyone loves to talk about the winner, one Chris Buescher on a Monday or a Tuesday, or we'll talk about the second place guy, Martin Truex Jr. some more. But here on the Bump and Run podcast, we like to talk about the guy who came in last. We touched on him earlier, Kyle Busch. He just lost it on lap 14, knocked down the wall. Just a frustrating day for the 8 team. Frustrating day for old Whitey because I picked him to win this race this week, and boys, our picks have not been doing well.
When he wrecked out, like his interview was hilarious too. Like that was a pissed off Kyle Busch.
That was a classic Kyle Busch interview. With his car,
and he wanted nothing to do with that interview.
Nope.
Absolutely nothing to do with it.
No, that's a Kyle Busch we haven't seen in a long, long time since last season. So,
and going into the playoffs, I don't know if anyone wants to see that Kyle Busch. An angry, pissed off, wanting to like get up to the front, Kyle Busch.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, dude!
I know, I love it. I'm so excited.
Like I wish this was like a seat, like you know, you could binge. I wish I could just binge the rest of the season tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, the anticipation is palpable. But we are heading to Indy. Trucks on track at Lucas Oil Raceway Park Friday night, 9 p.m. on FS1 for the TSport 200. Xfinity on track at the Indy Road Course Saturday 5:30 on USA for the Pennzoil 150 presented by Advanced Auto Parts. Cup on track at the Indy Road Course Sunday 2:30 on NBC for the Verizon 200 at the Brickyard. We made some picks. I told you I picked Kyle Busch to win at Michigan. He got me 1 point. Eric, you picked Joey Logano to win. He got you 27 points. And Matt, you picked Kevin Harvick to win. He got you 29 points. So fellas, I pick first, Eric picks second, and Matt picks third. Who do I pick?
I've got a guy in my head.
Yeah. Dude, I want to say he's going to go back to back, win 2 years in a row, and Tyler Reddick is in victory lane. But right now, I don't trust him as a driver, his crew as a crew. Either one of them's going to fuck it up. But now that I said that, he's going to win, so I'm going to pick Tyler Reddick to win. I got faith in my boy. Give it to me, please. Give me that win.
I like that.
Give me that.
I like that, buddy. You gotta keep that confidence up. Go in, little miscues. Let that happen now. Yeah. He's in. He has that win. I like that, Whitey. I really do.
They're gonna be looking to make up for this past week. I think everyone got an ass chewing at TRD this week. Who are you going with, Eric?
I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it real here, and I'm going to go with one of the guys that is known to have a crew chief that pushes the strategy limits, kind of tries some wild moves because they never really have the speed to win races. They kind of have to go off sequence, wild strategy. But with this next gen car, the speed's been there. And road course, I would call him one of the good ringers. And to watch that cutoff bubble, I'm going with Michael McDowell in the 34 car.
I like it. I
thought about him, and I juggled between him and the guy I actually ended up landing on. You guys didn't take him. So I'm going to throw guys, Statman Matt, I'm going to throw a little stat at you. I've got a trend. Eric, you just said you wish this was a season you can binge watch. Well, I've got the spoiler alert for this next episode here at Indy Road Course. I know who the winner's going to be. So right. I've had 4 exactos this year, which means I've had 4 correct predictions on who's going to win the race. Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, and Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take Kyle Busch out and replace him with the guy who replaced him in real life. We're going to go ahead and put in the 4th Joe Gibbs racing driver. And I'm going to go with Ty Gibbs.
Let's go.
Let's
go. Playoff bubble drivers. I love it.
I like it. Is it a long shot? I think so. Get in that bet now while the odds are good, because if he qualifies well, they'll jump up and you won't make as much money. I like it. I really do.
And sneaking, people like the NBC crew has been talking about him more and more every week. The people have been picking him. It's going to happen eventually, right? We talked about earlier. He's got that raw talent. He's going to start winning races. He's the next generational talent that I think everyone thinks that. And he's good at road courses, and he's only getting better. And I just have a feeling that Ty Gibbs gets it done this weekend.
He's been running
last couple
super
weeks in my
consistent
fantasy.
too.
He's been my garage guy because I've just seen so much potential, and I'm like, he's a guy that like I have so many starts left for. He's running consistent top 10, top 15s, and some weeks that's all you need.
He finished 9th at Coda earlier in the year. He had a stretch of nice 9th and 10th places earlier in the year. 18th at Sonoma, not the best. 5th at Pocono. I treat Pocono as a road course, and I put a lot of stock into that. And of course,
gotta look at his Xfinity stats too at road courses, man. He's got a couple
really
wins
good
in the Xfinity series on road courses, so
really good. And like you said, the NBC guys have been talking about him a little bit here and there. We've been talking about him a little bit here and there. We kind of sang we sang his praises earlier in the show. I like it. I finally played him in fantasy this past week for the first time. I trusted him. So we'll see what happens.
The same thing. I played him for the first time or maybe the second time all season. I finally had enough trust in him, and it's another spoiler. I'm going to play him this week. I have a lot of faith in Ty Gibbs this week.
I like it. I really do. We're 23 races into the 2023 season, and we have 12 different winners locked into the playoffs. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kyle Busch, William Byron, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain, and Chris Buescher all have wins on the cutoff line. Kevin Harvick, 180 to the good. Brad Keselowski, 168 to the good. Bubba Wallace, 58 to the good. And Ty Gibbs, 3 to the good. Outside looking in, Michael McDowell, -3. Daniel Suarez, -5. AJ Allmendinger, -24. And Alex Bowman, -44. Can any of those guys win their way in the next couple races? We will find out. Can Tyler Reddick and his crew put together a race and get a win? Can Ty Gibbs get his first win of his career as a rookie nonetheless? Or will Michael McDowell kick that cut line in the dick and win his way in? No worries about points. We will see this weekend, Sunday, 2:30 on NBC for the Verizon 200 at the Brickyard. And I hope we break it down on Monday. It might be another Tuesday show. We never know. But for now, for Matt the Statman Reilly, for Eric Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night.
The bump and run.
There